The first balance changes of set 16 PBE have just been released. I'm going to read through them and maybe give some commentary on any that seem important. So for augments, solo played and twin guardians are now mutually exclusive. Malicious monetization, total gold earn tracker now includes the initial 2 gold. That's a good UI change. Promise protection, the tooltip should now reflect that multiple protectors' vows will grant the augment's effect multiple times. Slammin', Slammin' now still grants its bonus XP if your strongest Galio is itemized on the bench. That's a really good change. You don't want to be losing Slammin' value just because you have a Galio. Galio, if you haven't played him yet, is a unit that comes off of your bench in the middle of combat, so that's a good change. As far as balance goes, traits, Demacia, max number of rallies set to 3. Shurima, the third Shurima unlock now requires an additional step, so Nasus and Renekton is 2, 3, 5. Xerath is 3, 4, 6. That is interesting. So that should... I've seen Shurima builds be really strong, specifically playing around Renekton and the attack speed, so that should kind of make it more difficult to hit those thresholds of Shurima that start to feel really OP. Slayer is getting a buff. The 4-piece Slayer is getting its Omnivamp increased by 1%. That seems kind of crazy to me because the 7 Ionia 4 Slayer comp, I went first with it. I've seen multiple people go first with it. It seems really strong to me. So it seems like that comp is just going to get better. Yordle's getting a nerf, a 2% attack speed nerf on Yordles. That's probably good. Yordle has seemed really strong, and it's just it's a 1-2 cost reroll comp. You get into Vigar and Fizz, and even Ziggs 4 and 5 costs later in the game, but early game, it's just an easy reroll comp to play, and it's been really powerful. So units, Briar is getting a nerf. Briar seems like a pretty strong unit, so I think that's okay. Scion is getting a nerf. Scion's an okay tank. Health per takedown, so he's just going to scale a little bit worse. I think Scion will still be... That's not the end of the world for Scion. Tristana now targets the current target instead of the closest enemy. That's interesting. That kind of ties into Yordle. Tristana was... She's a pretty strong 2-cost AD carry for the Yordle line, so it'll be interesting to see how the Yordle changes play out. Gangplank is getting a buff to his resists, which is interesting. I haven't played around Gangplank. Any Bilgewater that I've played has been playing around MF, and then into Tom Kench later. Like the Bruiser 4 Gunslinger build. So it'll be interesting to see if Gangplank finds his way into some comps. 4 costs. Lysandra is getting what looks to be a pretty substantial nerf. She's getting a large AP reduction on her split damage and a 0.5 second stun duration nerf. That seems like a pretty big nerf to Lysandra, as well as Invokers as a whole, because they've been kind of playing around Lysandra. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Nidalee buff. So Nidalee now gains 50% durability while your strongest Nico is alive. The tooltip is rephrased to better indicate she cannot be targeted for basic attacks. That's really interesting. I've only seen one person playing around that Nico-Nidalee interaction. I haven't personally played it myself, but 50% durability that's pretty powerful. 5 costs. Annie's post-cast mana reduction goes from 140 to 150, so Annie's going to cast more often. Rise nerfs. Here we go. Rise, if you haven't played much of this set on PBE so far, Rise is just by far the most powerful unit in the game. It kind of seems like a race to see who's going to hit their Rise. So units can only be knocked up by Shurima Tornadoes once every 3 seconds. Shurima's CC duration is reduced by half a second. Shurima coin chance per target is reduced by 8%. Piltover bonus damage is reduced by 10%. And a base spell damage reduction of 20 AP on a 1-star version and 30 AP on a 2-star version. Those seem like pretty substantial nerfs, but I have a feeling that we're going to see more Rise nerfs as PBE continues on. Rise is so insane right now. Senna and Lucian nerfs. Lucian spell damage is reduced by 10 AD at 1-star and 15 AD at 2-star. I haven't felt like Senna and Lucian are too OP or anything like that. So that's kind of interesting to me. I haven't played around them a lot either though, so we'll see how those changes affect Senna and Lucian. The T Hex, the Hex Mech caster bonus is getting buffed on the 3-star by 3 mana regen. I have not played T Hex personally. I'm not sure. It seems like a good buff to mana regen though. Zillion is getting a buff to his mana, so the Zillion changes should balance out the Lysandra changes a little bit. That Lysandra nerfs does seem pretty substantial, but hopefully Invokers can play around Zillion a little bit more. Edge of Night and Radiant Edge of Night no longer cleanse damage over time effects like Zillion, Bomb, and Burns. That seems like a very... That's a crazy change to these items. No longer cleansing their damage over time effects means that even though you drop aggro, when you hit that 60% HP threshold, you're still going to be whittled down by things like Zillion Bombs, Burns, think like Malzahar type dots, damage over time effects. Augments, Artillery Barrage Rumble. So this is the Rumble Hero augment. It's getting a buff. So the attack speed required per rocket is getting reduced by 7%. He needs less attack speed to get extra rockets. Axiomata, gold if silver augment is being increased from 1 to 4, and gold if gold augment is being increased from 10 to 15. It's a good econ change. Bringer of Ruin. So this getting buffed is interesting to me. I've played this augment and I've seen other people play this augment and it has performed very well. What this augment is, if you haven't played it, is a Noxus trait augment. So the Noxus trait spawns an Atacon unit on your board. Think kind of similar to like the old like Eldritch trait. And Bringer of Ruin causes your Atacon to scale throughout the game. So if you have 3 Noxus on 2-1 and you take this augment, your Atacon is just going to get stronger and stronger throughout the game. It gains AP and health based on takedowns. And so the required takedowns per stack are getting cut in half from 2 to 1. So every takedown is going to be scaling your Atacon now. The health per stack is increasing, and okay, the AP per stack is decreasing, but it's decreasing per stack, but for every 2 takedowns instead of 3, it's going to be 4. So this is just a big buff overall for an augment that I think was already very strong. Component Heist, delay turns from 6 to 5. Construct a Companion, gold from 5 to 10. Demacia Forever. Now additionally grants a Sona, but the health is reduced by 3. Ixtal Expeditionist. I haven't played around Ixtal at all yet. I think that's like the loose trait augment this set. So the player health is going from 10 to 15. Leap of Faith Alawi is getting a 20 AD buff on 1-star, 30 on 2-star, and 45 on 3-star. It's a pretty good change for Leap of Faith Alawi. Woven Magic. Mana per component is being increased to 1900 from 1650. Now let's get into the bug fixes. Rift Herald unlockable no longer counts reinforcement combats. Wood Axiom properly applies its health on combat start. Tomkinch and Zahen can no longer break apart Thieves' Gloves. That's really good. It's frustrating to have a Thieves' Gloves and get that broken up by something like Tomkinch. Kaisa's role now works properly for item customization and team planner. Bilgewater shop units that are purchased from the black market while the bench is full are properly combined. That's good. That's something that was annoying. Only one player can be offered Ruined King at a time. That is interesting that was a bug. So if you haven't played Ruined King is the Viego hero augment. This set, basically it makes your Viego's ability stronger initially. Initially it's slightly stronger, and then when you reach 100 of the souls stacks, he kind of just goes Giga mode. It's a pretty strong hero augment. So only one player being offered that at a time now assures that you're not going to be contested on that, which is nice. Azir soldiers now remember their location when you toggle Azir. That's good. Spreading Roots now properly grants a Reforger. Air Axiom properly granted Sunder and attack speed after the first player combat. Ixtal XP quests cannot appear if you cannot possibly buy that much XP. No Scout, No Pivots HP tracker now displays the correct number. Seraphin's Staff Augment no longer causes Twisted Fate to gain resources since he does not use mana. Interesting. Briar no longer gets stuck after casting with Tiny but Deadly active. Rolling past Azir no longer contributes to unlocking Xerath and Talkers. Enemies now correctly drop souls and Talkers. Xin Zhao's spell will not interact correctly with extra range from the Longshot emblem. Galimnify no longer grants you extra copies of Piltover modules. Units with Giant and Mighty now properly stay large when traveling to away boards. That's good. I wonder if that was just a visual bug or if that was something where they were actually losing their stats from Giant and Mighty. Either way, it's good to have that visual clarification that your Prismatic Augment is working. Call to Chaos no longer always grants its component reward. That's funny. I didn't know it was doing that. Piltover Micro Rockets now work in Talker's Trials. Piltover Demacia Forever no longer loses stats when starring up a unit. Talker's Trials no longer gives random augment rarities. Talker Trials typo fixes. The following 3-star champions now correctly play their voice lines. Zillion, Azir, and Galio will have their correct voice lines now. Added protections to stop Jinx from getting stuck. That's really good. Ixtal fixed an issue where the quest requirement could appear as 0, but still functioned. Fix a prop animation issue after Armory is closed, where it should show 0 Sun Shards until reset. Fix an issue where Nidalee's Ghosted voice effect would appear on all Nidalees, and Freyloid voice effects no longer disappear when scouting. So there you have it. These are the first changes of Set 16 PBE. I think some of these changes are really good, specifically the Rise ones. I'm really excited to get back and start testing the game some more after maintenance is over. The game's starting, I would say like starting last night when people realized how strong Rise was. It's just been kind of like a race to get Rise, especially in like some of the scrims. So Senna and Lucian, that's interesting. I didn't really have a chance to play around them as much as I would have liked to. That doesn't seem like a huge nerf, but 10 AD and 15 AD is not nothing. The Yordle nerf I really like. The Shurima nerfs I think will be good. That Renekton Shurima board has been pretty insane as well. The Lissandra nerf is also interesting. Invokers has been pretty strong, and I want to test out how it feels with these Lissandra nerfs. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. I'll keep you updated with Set 16 changes as they come. And yeah, thanks for watching.